Good afternoon. It's a privilege to be here to discuss Petra Robinson's new book, Second Chances. Um, this is quite an accomplishment particularly because of its evocation of social and cultural setting. But I want to ask Petra, what got her started on this? Because this is the third book. You have two. What got
Yeah.
you started on this?
Well, the interesting thing is that this was the first one I actually started writing.
Really? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I started it over 20 years ago. Don't want to go too specific to give away the age. And I started writing it. It just came to mind. This young girl being abused, left home, nowhere to go, ran back home, realized she had to be on the streets, killed herself, a 20-page story, and I give it to
Okay.
my persons to read, Lynette, who normally review Pearl. They are here, Lynette, Pearl, Pat, and they said, no, Petra, you can't write this, go back again. This is too hopeless.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, it isn't always about a happy ending. If someone is abused,
Mm-hmm.
where will they go if someone doesn't rescue them? So I put it down because I couldn't see how to make the character any stronger, and I went on to other things.
Right. So you were concerned about the possibility of a happy outcome in the case of abuse.
Yeah.
Well, I think that you did that very successfully. One of the things that I would like to discuss with you is the evocation of that social and cultural setting, because I believe that is a strong point in the book, the way that one really gets a sense of the background, the framework. And even though your character is a very specific character with a lot of spunk and uh, we see her, there's a sense in which she could also be representative of a
Yes.
whole lot of women.
Yes, she is.
Yes. So I thought that was very clever,
Okay,
that
thanks.
evocation of the sociocultural setting.
Yeah.
It is very grotty.
It is.
It's set in the environment of urban poverty, domestic violence,
It
sexual
is.
abuse, incest. Kind of you name it, and you got it in there. Now, how in your mind does that dovetail with romance?
Exactly. And that is why when I initially wrote it, I left it because, as I told them, I don't see how I can take a character who is abused and make her fall in love. In my mind at that time, it just didn't happen. And then, as I matured, I thought about it, did some literature courses, read up a little on the romance genre, I said, you know what, I know I had to make the character a little stronger so that even though she was going through stuff, she had to overcome it with the romance. I used the romance as a light vehicle to carry that heavy, heavy theme because I guess I needed something to lighten how painful it was. And I put a subplot with another character who would carry the heavier parts that I thought if she carried, it would have been difficult for me to bring her out of it in the commensurate pages.
Right.
I didn't want it to appear too contrived.
Right. Two matters you raised which I'd like to pick up on. A light vehicle to carry a heavy theme. One of the things that I think your novels have done, this one as well, is to demonstrate how in the outworking of love, which is what we're all about, everybody wants love.
Love heals everything.
Yes. That in the outworking of love, you're really touching on every single facet
Yep.
of human lives. How you feel about yourself, self-esteem,
Yep.
um, how you construct your being, looking at ontological issues,
Exactly.
how you see yourself in relation to the other, how you see yourself in relation to the
Correct.
social context,
Correct.
how you see yourself, how you negotiate to find what
Exactly.
everybody needs and wants. So I like the notion of a light vehicle to carry a heavy theme. And I don't know if you're aware the extent to which the strategy you use is a very common strategy in women's writing, and which is to have what is called a shared, it's called a Bildungsroman or a novel of
Right, the
development.
development, like Annie John.
Right. Now, sometimes novels of development are in relation to children, but because so many women
Yep.
have aborted development, they do not develop in
Correct.
their childhood, there is a notion of a novel of development that is a novel of deferred maturation, which I think is what you're dealing with here,
Correct.
except that you also have child characters who are
Yes.
in the early developmental
Correct.
phase, and then you have adult characters whose maturation has been deferred
Yes.
because of all of the conflict. So you have the two at once, and then you do have what you have in terms of a shared Bildungsroman. You have one character who bears the more of the burden of the grotty, the difficult,
Yes.
the inability to really escape, and another character who acts well. They are now character foils. You will remember that term.
Yes. Yes. Correct.
So you have characters acting as foils in relation to each
Correct.
other, one walking through the situation, and the other
Flashback.
overwhelmed by the situation, perhaps. And and this you do, I think, in the novel, both to serve your more idealistic imperatives,
Correct.
which is make a happy story out
Correct.
of it, and to also fulfill the imperative of social realism, which
Yes.
says not many people
Escape that.
can create joy and happiness,
Yep.
notwithstanding. So again, I think that is another issue of the novel that was handled very well.